Hello again, welcome. How are you today? How are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. Class number 1176. 76 trombones led the big parade. Okay, welcome. We have 25 programs left. And then it's the end of the world for me. It's the end of maybe I'll retire completely. La coleta, I'll cut it. Yeah, see, that's it. Goodbye. It's been fun. It's been fun. But in any case, here we have Vaughan World. La vida y milagros de personajes. My people. I created these people. All right. But I think enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Sí, es la expresión basta ya de personajes. And I'll talk about my life. Although you know about my life. I was born on November 9th, 1951, in Houston, Texas. My sister was 3 years old when I was born. And I had a brother who was 1 year and 2 months younger than I was, who was born in September 1950. But he died when he was only 6 days old of a meningitis or something strange. I really don't know the story. And I grew up in Houston, Texas. I come from a background of many generations in the United States. As I think I said yesterday or the day before, mis cuatro apellidos, my four, Vaughan, which is Welsh, Galés, Adams, which is English, Campbell, which is Scottish, and Crosby, which is Irish, Crosby. Now, those are 4 different family lines, and each line had around 8 generations in the United States. So that's 32 generations of people who are American and not European. So although I look English, and some people think I'm from Great Britain, I'm very, very American. And I'm from Texas and Oklahoma, which are even more American. I grew up in Houston. I was lucky. Some people say to me, Richard, has tenido mucha suerte en la vida. Y digo, y una leche. La suerte la he forjado de principio a fin. Which is not necessarily true. My detractors, mis detractores, are not entirely wrong. De principio a fin, no. Mi principio, my beginning was fortunate. I was born in the United States in 1951. And I grew up in Houston during the 1950s. During that period, the United States was undoubtedly, clearly the most powerful country in the world. Europe was destroyed by the Second World War and was rebuilding. Japan and China were destroyed in the Second World War and were rebuilding. So the United States was the king of the mountain in every way, in agriculture, in industry, in entertainment, Hollywood, in everything. So I was lucky to be born in the United States. I wasn't born in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. I wasn't born in the chabolas de Tijuana, all right, or Kinshasa, or Karachi in Pakistan. I was born in a buoyant economy, in a very strong country. So yes, my detractors are correct. I was lucky. Second, I had 2 good parents. My mother and my father were good. My mother wasn't a good cook, but except for that, she was perfect. All right. So my mother and my father, I had good parents. So I was lucky. Third, I had good school teachers, maestros de primaria, from kindergarten to 6th grade, sexto año, 7 años, párvulos, uno al seis. From kindergarten to first grade, second grade, third grade to sixth grade. That was primary school in my generation. All of my teachers were good. All of them. And the gym teacher as well. Gimnasio. Gym teacher as well. So I was fortunate. Again, I was lucky to have a good primary school education. So yes, we could say I have good genes, buenos genes, from the four branches of my family. And so yes, so I grew up in Houston. When I was 2.5 years old, my father was transferred by his company to New York City. So I was 2.5, my sister was 5.5, and my father, I think was about 32 years old. This was in 1954. And my father was, no, and this happened, we went to New York City when I was 2.5. So I was born at the 2.5, this was 1952, in the middle of 1953. No, in the middle of 1954. We went to New York. And my father was 31 years old. All right. And why did we go to New York? My father was working for New York Life Insurance Company. New York Life Insurance, Seguro de Vida, Life Insurance Company is the second biggest life insurance company in the United States. And the company sent him to New York City for training for 8 months. Formación durante 8 meses. And the company financed my father and the family. We lived in Queens on Long Island, and my father commuted every day to Manhattan, to the headquarters of New York Life Insurance Company on Madison Avenue. And there for 8 months he was trained. And in the meantime, I lived in New York for 8 months between age 2.5 and 3.5. In the middle, I lived through the winter, snow, with the New York snow. And then we returned to Texas, and my father became the general manager of one of the 2 Houston offices. Houston, Texas was growing. It was growing. And it was growing so much that the company decided to open a second branch. Aquí se suele decir delegación. And my father was the person. But it's interesting to me, fascinating, that the company invested 8 months to train my father to be the manager of a branch. So it seems like, and they paid for my mother, my sister, myself to live in New York for 8 months a fondo perdido. Which means the company is very strong. It's a very strong company. For the past almost 200 years, 185 years, this company has existed. So it's a very strong company. And so we returned to Texas. My father became the branch manager, or the manager of one of the branches. And what's interesting about the American South is sur. The American South lost the Civil War between 1861 and 1865. The American South, yes, el sur de Scarlett O'Hara, they lost the American Civil War. And for the next, 90 years, the development of the South was very slow. So the South was relatively poor in comparison to other areas of the United States, even in 1940, 1950. But starting in the 1950s, coincided with the introduction of air conditioning. Aire acondicionado, air conditioning. That changed everything. The South began to grow and continues to grow. And it became dynamic, including Houston, Texas. Houston is located in East Texas. So it's really part of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. It's part of what we call the Deep South. But it's incredible, the influence of air conditioning. And the same thing can happen in Andalusia or in the south of Italy. With air conditioning, it can change the dynamic. Because in the American South, it's hot and very humid, very lethargic, letargo. You know, in half of the year, it's too hot and humid to work. Similar to Andalusia in some areas, but Andalusia is not necessarily humid, except in Huelva and in Las Marismas, in that area, yes. But of course, you go to Córdoba, it's not humid. You go to Granada, it's not humid. You go to Almería, of course, in Jaén, it's not humid. But in the American South, it's very humid. And so it's pegajoso, everything. And so the introduction of air conditioning, and Houston started to grow. And so my father became the general manager of the second office in Houston, Texas in 1955. And he continued until 1960. And so in 1960, I turned 9 in November 1960. In December 1960, the following month, my family was transferred to Oklahoma, 800 kilometers to the north, Tulsa, Oklahoma, crossing the Red River, El Rio Rojo, donde John Wayne y Montgomery Cliff y Las Vacas, crossing the Red River. And so it was a big change for me. I was 9 years old, and I needed to make new friends and to a new city, a new way of life and everything, which was good. For me, it's good for children to change schools. I think it's good because it requires you to make new friends. You become more open, more capable of interpersonal relations when you have to make new friends. And so we went to Oklahoma when I was 9. And I lived in Oklahoma until the age of 18. I lived in Oklahoma for 9.5 years. And those 9.5 years were perhaps the most critical years in my development. And in Oklahoma is famous for a Broadway production, a musical, Oklahoma, musical de Broadway, but also for John Steinbeck's book, The Grapes of Wrath, Las Uvas de la Ira. And there was a joke, in 1960 there was a joke about Oklahoma. In what way are Oklahoma and Mars similar? ¿En qué se parece Marte y Oklahoma? Pues tierra de color rojiza y ninguna señal de vida inteligente. All right. And so, but it's not true. There were and there are very intelligent people in Oklahoma. But I'll come back tomorrow and continue the story of my life, porque me añado a los personajes, mi personaje. So I'll talk about my life a little bit every day. And hopefully you'll understand. Maybe you know. I published an autobiography about 7 months ago, 8 months ago, November of last year. I published an autobiografía. Yes. Reflexiones de un profesor y emprendedor. All right. De Texas a España. So if you're interested, buy it. Okay. So what we have here now is grammar. The big book. This book, grammar. Yes. Now listen to the structure. Ask me where my sister lives. Richard, where does your sister live? She lives in Colorado. Ask me what city she lives in. What city does she live in? She lives in Denver. Ask me how long she has been living in Denver. How long has she been living in Denver. She's been living in Denver for 45 years. Ask me what she does. Ask me what she does. Pregúntame a qué se dedica. En inglés decimos simplemente pregúntame qué hace. Ask me what she does. Claro, en español si dices, oye, ¿tu hermana qué hace? Puede ser qué es lo que hace ahora mismo, qué está haciendo o qué hace en general. En inglés no se puede mezclar esos dos. What she does is a qué se dedica. Ask me what my sister does. What does your sister do? What does your sister do? She has 3 jobs. One in the morning, one at midday, and one in the afternoon. Oh, ask me what she does in the morning. What does your sister do in the morning? She teaches. Ask me what she teaches. What does she teach? She teaches, o sea, la pregunta, what does she teach? ¿Qué enseña? ¿Qué es lo que enseña? What does she teach? Y yo, tercera persona singular, she teaches interior decoration. Ask me where she teaches it. Where does she teach it? She teaches it, interior decoration, she teaches it in a vocational technical center. Centro de Formación Profesional, Vocacional Técnico, Centro de Formación Profesional, Vocational Technical Center. Ask me how many hours she teaches every day. How many hours does she teach every day? She teaches 2 hours every day. Ask me what time she starts. What time does she start? She starts at 10 o'clock. Ask me what time she finishes. What time does she finish? She finishes at 12 o'clock. And ask me how many classes she gives. How many classes does she give? She gives 2 classes. Ask me if she likes her work. Does she like her work? Oye, Richard, ¿por qué dices work en vez de job? Porque no es su trabajo, no es su empleo. Es una actividad que realiza 2 horas al día. Entonces, pregúnteme si le gusta la actividad que realiza en esas 2 horas. Por eso uso work y no job. It's a job, yes, but it's a part-time job. It's a part-time job. So yes, she likes her work. She likes her job. She likes her work. Ask me what she does at midday. What does she do at midday? She goes to a bank. A un banco. Yeah, she goes to a bank. Ask me what she does in the bank. What does she do in the bank? She helps a friend. Ask me what kind of help she gives her friend. What kind of help does she give her friend? She helps her friend with interior design. In a bank? Well, ask me if a bank needs an interior designer. Does a bank need an interior designer? No, it doesn't. Ask me why my sister goes there. Why does your sister go to the bank? Well, to help her friend. Well, I don't understand. Okay, the bank is growing. The bank is expanding. And the bank is renting and rehabilitating new branches, delegaciones bancarias, sucursales. And the person in the bank in charge of expansion is a good friend of my sister's. So after my sister finishes her classes in the vocational technical school, she goes to the bank to have a sandwich, lunch, to have a sandwich with her friend, and my sister helps, with some of the designs and decoration for the new bank branches. Is this a temporary job? Well, it's not a job. How much do they pay your sister? Nothing. Does your sister do this for free? Yes, she does. Well, why does she go to the bank and work for free? The expansion manager is a good friend of my sister's. Now, from the vocational technical school where my sister teaches, her house is here. So she passes and stops in the bank, has lunch with her friend, and helps her with some aspects of the design, and then goes home. Ask me how much time she spends in the bank. Well, how much time does she spend in the bank? No more than an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Not much time. She doesn't spend much time in the bank. And where does she go after that? Excuse me? Where does your sister go after that? Home. Ah, she goes home. So she finishes for the day. She's finished. No. Because she has another job in the afternoon. Ah. What does she do in the afternoon? She decorates. Decora. What does she decorate? Interiors. Muy bien. Es decorador de interiores. Fine. So, but what kind of interiors does she decorate? What kind of interiors? Well, many. Basically 3. Yeah. She decorates offices, restaurants, and homes. Hogares, casas, and homes. Ah, yeah, yes. Does your sister like to decorate offices? No, she doesn't. Huh. Why doesn't she like? Why doesn't she like? Why doesn't she like to decorate offices? She doesn't like to decorate offices because very often, muy a menudo, very often, the decoration is functional, boring. The decoration isn't challenging or artistic. No. So she doesn't like decorating offices. Okay. Does she like to decorate restaurants? No. She doesn't like to decorate restaurants. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why doesn't she? Why doesn't she like to decorate restaurants? Because very often, very often, the restaurant owner thinks he's a professional decorator too. And so they clash, chocan, clash, con L, no con R. Crash es chocar como colisión física de coches o lo que sea, crash. O un desplome bursátil también se dice a crash, stock market crash. Pero clash, cambiando la R por una L, clash, es un choque de colores, no casan el color de mis pantalones con el color. That's the clash. Y también cuando hay pareceres que chocan, they clash. They don't crash. And so the problem my sister has with restaurant owners is that many times they are creative themselves and they think they don't agree. My sister says, no, color naranja, no. Orange, no. But I want the entrance to be orange. And so my sister has some fights with the restaurant owner. Oh, well, does your sister like to decorate homes? Yes, she does. Oh, finally. Why does she like to decorate homes? Because in the United States, the people who hire the services of an interior decorator have money, or usually have money. And they don't have time to decorate the house. So they give my sister the key. It says, Nancy here. My sister's name is Nancy here. Here's the key to the house. Decorate it for me. My new house. They give your sister total freedom? Total, no, but almost. What indications or instructions do they give your sister? Basically general. They say, I want Spanish style, Western style of decoration, or French style, French provincial style, or English style, clásico inglés, and things. Or Oriental. I want an Oriental, sabor oriental. I want an Oriental flavor, or Oriental taste. And so my sister, from the general idea, she makes the decisions on decoration. Is your sister expensive? Well, it depends. Depends on the time, and it depends on the type of furniture and the type of decoration. But I'll talk more about it another day. Take care.